Ready to go live. Are we live?
We are live.
We are live.
Hello, guys.
Hey, everyone. You know that expression about through rain or shine, snow or sleet, you know, that they say about mailmen? Well, that's kind of us right now because right outside our office door are workers that are finishing up putting new flooring in. Because you guys remember the flood, right? The flood that we had in our house. Anyway, so if you hear like drill noises,
that's okay.
or like doors closing and opening, just pretend you didn't hear it.
Pretend we're in a new construction zone.
Oh, that's great. We can kind of add that to the whole, you know, let's talk about new construction thing. We're actually like real, well, no, but our floors are. Yeah, so our floors are new construction. So anyway, if you hear noises, just know that that's us. We're so devoted that we're here, even though workers are in our home putting in new flooring. I think that makes us pretty amazing. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, but.
Well, you're amazing.
Oh, you're so nice, guys. He's so nice, isn't he? Guys, the reason, though, that we needed to come is that the impossible is happening. Yeah, and it's
no
like,
way.
And so like we need to come and talk to you guys about it.
Howdy.
Howdy, guy. Howdy, Z Mag. Thank you for coming today. Anyway, so the impossible is happening, and we need to talk about it. Okay, so let's get into this. Buyers catch a break. All right, can you guys see this? Let me open that up. Buyers catch a break. Home prices just fell the most in 2 years. Okay, so now I'm going to read this. Keep in mind, it is a national article. It is not based on Texas alone, but Texas is definitely one of them. So this is talking about home prices falling. Okay, so home prices fell the most in 2 years. Home prices are being cut at the fastest pace in 2 years. The share of home listings that saw a price cut rose to 18.9% in July, up 3.4% from last year. Demand is cooling as buyers wait for mortgage rates to ease, Realtor.com said. Home buyers are finally starting to see the housing market shift in their favor, with home prices being slashed at the fastest pace in 2 years. Wow, according to Realtor.com. Share of available listings, and this is repeating, price cuts have largely been driven by lower demand, alleviating some of the imbalances that pushed prices to record highs over the past year. First, rates remain higher than expected, which means there's less buyer activity. Ralph how do you think you say that name? McLaughlin, a senior economist at Realtor.com, said in a statement, second, the prospect of lower mortgage rates coming this fall may have induced some buyers to wait. This combo has led sellers to lower their prices in order to attract more buyers. Among the metro areas tracked by Realtor.com, 47 out of 50 saw the share of homes with price cuts increase year over year. So that's pretty compelling, 47 out of 50. Anyway, so I found that very interesting because, you know, what we're seeing is like this market where we've got prices coming down and interest rates coming down. And to me, that's just not possible. I mean, like almost literally, this is like me eating crow, because like a year ago, I made a video all about how they both wouldn't happen at the same time. So like literally I'm like, oh, should I delete that video? Because, you know, my whole point in that one, I was talking about how like if you want an affordable home or rock bottom prices, but you're not going to get both. And that was like my whole point of the video. And yet now it's happening. So prices coming down.
But how we hit rock bottom?
Yeah, I don't know. But
and have the rates really come down that much yet?
We'll see. Okay, we'll see. Let's read this article. Average rate on a 30-year mortgage falls to 6.47%. Lowest level in more than a year. And this was on August 8th. So it's about 3 weeks old. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage fell this week. Oh, let me add it to that so you guys can see it. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage fell this week to its lowest level in more than a year, a welcome affordability boost for prospective home shoppers and homeowners looking to refinance their home loan to a lower rate. So, and I had read that like interest, you know, that refinances were up, you know, lots of people refinancing. Yeah. The rates fell to 6.47% from 6.73% last week, Mortgage buyer Freddie Mac said Thursday. A year ago, the rate averaged 6.96%. I'm actually going to show you guys that in a minute. I actually collected data over the year.
Nice.
You know me, data.
Data collector.
Data collector. This is the second straight weekly drop in the average rate. It's now the lowest it's been since mid-May last year when it was 6.39%. The decline in mortgage rates does increase prospective home buyers' purchasing power and should begin to pique their interest in making a move, said Sam Cater, Freddie Mac's chief economist. And I'm actually going to show that today too, guys. I made some slides where I can show you like exactly how much price by price or like interest rate, how much it makes a difference in your monthly payment. Because I think a lot of people don't fully realize that. Okay. After jumping to a 23-year high of 7.79% in October, the average rate on a 30-year mortgage has mostly hovered around 7% this year, more than double what it was just 3 years ago. That's very true. Although it necessarily hasn't been a bad thing because it stabilized prices. So
exactly.
All right.
3.5 is not a good rate.
It was not. The elevated
all the people that got those rates are not saying that. But
that is true, aren't they? They're all happy and staying put. The elevated mortgage rates, which can add hundreds of dollars a month in costs for borrowers, have discouraged home shoppers, extending the nation's housing slump into its third year. Rates have mostly eased in recent weeks as signs of waning inflation and a cooling job market have raised expectations that the Federal Reserve will cut its benchmark interest rate next month for the first time in 4 years. Man, seems hard to believe it's been 4 years. Wow. This week's drop in mortgage rates follows a pullback in the 10-year Treasury yield, which briefly slid last week to around 3.7%. To me, that is really amazing. After worse than expected labor market data rattled investors, pushing up demand for bonds. The yield, which topped 4.7% in late April, was at 4% in afternoon trading in the bond market on Thursday. If bond yields continue to decline in anticipation of the Fed lowering rates this fall, that could lead mortgage rates to ease further, though most economists expect the average rate on a 30-year home loan to remain above 6% this year. I'm curious, what do you think about that? Because I've seen people, I've literally seen people be like, oh, rates are going to drop down to the 5s or, the 4s. I've seen people say that was going to happen by the end of the year. I don't know. What do you think?
I guess, yeah, I think it's hard to say yet. I mean, the Fed cutting rates does not make the mortgage rates go down.
Right.
They are actually basically the long-term rates are going down because of things that are actually causing the Fed to cut rates.
Yeah.
It's economy stuff and things like that. And so we'll have to kind of see how that continues to go. If we get a really negative BLS report coming out in September, which we're supposed to, then when it comes out, then rates may come down some more. It's hard to say yet. And then of course it's still early on the rate thing coming down too. They've been coming down. It's been nice, but it's early. We don't know if that means it's going to start raising prices or
I know.
Or if they're just going to stay down because of seasonality or what.
That's what's so weird about this market. You just don't usually see rates and prices come down ever. It's just super weird. Let me see. Let me finish this. Okay. If bond yields continue to decline, I think I read that one, rates may have to come down before many would-be home buyers facing record high housing prices and a chronic shortage of properties on the market can afford to buy a home. Now, I don't agree with part of that quote. What do you think? The whole part about a chronic shortage of properties? Maybe they're talking nationwide.
I think they're taking overall, and every year for several years, there's some charts I've seen. It's been a while since I've looked at them, but since, I don't know, maybe it's around the 2008 time frame or something like that. Since then, every year, the number of available homes has gone lower and lower and lower. The builders are building less and all that kind of stuff. So,
but then you have Dallas.
But then we've had, and they have to, because there's so much more room to build for one thing. But then also, we've had more buyers than we've ever had in a while because we've had more people in that position that are available to buy or ready to buy. How, their families in that position and that kind of thing.
Very true. So, very true. Let's see here now. But I think that's interesting. Rates may have to come down before many would-be home buyers. Okay, because record high housing prices. I definitely agree with that part. Buyers are biding their time, waiting for rates to fall further and for more inventory to come onto the market, said Lisa Sturdivant, chief economist at Bright MLS. So what do you think about that?
I don't know.
I mean, buyers are biding their time. I just feel like I'm not sure. I think too, like seasonality. So I'm not entirely sure, but
at
sure
the
same time,
you're going to get that much more inventory right now than what we have here. Right now, maybe they'll start building more later. And
I think this
is just a good time. If you wait, the rates may not come down. They may go back up. You never know.
I certainly hope not. I don't know what I hope for.
And then if they do come down, the prices may go up, and then you'll lose that too. So sometimes it's not good to wait. If it's already coming down, you look for a good deal and go for it.
And so like what I did, I was like, okay, this is pretty weird that the two are happening. So then I was like, okay, do interest rates really make that much of a difference? Right. In fact, actually, very interestingly, I just finished recording a video today. It'll go out in about a month where I talk all about interest rates. And it is really interesting. So I kind of pulled this data as I was preparing for that video. And it was really interesting to see. But okay, funny story. Our preferred lender, okay, Caleb Buczek, do you think I'm pronouncing his name right?
I always thought it was Buczek.
Is it Buczek?
Yeah.
I don't. B-U-C-Z-E-K.
Maybe Caleb needs to come on.
Caleb needs to be watching so he can tell us. Like, we've worked with him all these years, and I literally don't know how to pronounce his name. Anyway, our preferred lender, he sends us market updates, right? Like sometimes every week, depends on how often the changes are. And I would delete them, but apparently, like, they don't empty out of my trash in my emails.
Oh,
and so I was actually able to pull them all up. so then I was like, okay, is this really like a big deal how much these rates have dropped? So I actually have I have these Caleb Buczek market update, employment report, and today's rates. And this is literally from like October 4, 2023, still clogging up my email.
There you go.
So I don't know what we should think about my email from that, but so I wanted to focus. So he always sends these, and it'll be like, the conventional 30 years fixed and FHA. And I thought I'd pay attention to the movement with the FHA. So in October of 2023, 7.875. So then we moved on to November, and it came down quite a lot in 1 month. So it was down to 7%. And this is for an FHA loan. January, paying no points, 6.125%.
That's why we had such a big January.
We really did, honestly. Like January was pretty strong. And then March, 6.5%. So they went back up.
I think we had such a slow spring because it went way down and then it started coming back up, and people are like,
yeah, I know. People are like, and I think too, honestly, I think this is why a lot of sellers are in trouble, because I think in January, I thought rates were like, headed down, and they got all prepped to sell their home. They're like, finally,
priced them really high.
Yeah. And they priced them really high because they're like excited rates are coming down.
Set on the market.
Yeah. And then they sat on the market. So that's what's going on in Dallas. It's not like universal. Like we did have one, this week where it had multiple offers. So, but it's not universal, but a lot are just sitting on the market. The inventory is way up. And I think that has something to do with it. I really do think the fact that the rates went down in January, a lot of sellers got ready, and then they popped right back up. In May, 6.375%. In July, 6.175%. So that's close. Is that close to what we saw in January? Yeah. 6.125. And then you look at August, 5.5%. So with FHA right now, we're like down in the fives. So that's crazy. That's like astonishing to me. Like, okay, we haven't seen the 5 number in a long time.
Yep.
So with FHA financing right now, VA 5.5%. So then, I mean, I guess the question is like, then why aren't we seeing, prices come up and stuff? Because, this is such a big change. So then I went in and I was like, is it really a big change, right? So if it's 5.5%, does that really make a big difference? So I created a table of Caleb's data, and it was pretty fun pulling all this together. So if you got a mortgage for $400,000 in October, right, when the rates were at 7.875%, the mortgage part of your housing payment would have been $2,900. And we had buyers that were buying then. I mean, we were really busy.
That's P&I.
That is just the mortgage. Yeah. P&I. Yeah. P&I.
Okay.
Just the mortgage, not the taxes or insurance. Okay. So $2,900. So by November, 7%, $2,661. So already you can see like that makes a big difference. And then January, okay, the same mortgage went from $2,900 to $2,430. So that makes a big difference. And again, that's why January was so busy. And then in March, it popped back up again, $2,528. In May, it was $2,495. So it's kind of not really changing a whole lot. In July, $2,443. And then in August, $2,271. So you're looking at same, mortgage, $400,000. So depending on your down payment, of course, the purchase price would be higher than that. But still, what a difference. Like I was looking at that, I was like, okay, that makes a really big difference. If you look at that difference from the very first one, $2,900 to $2,271, that's your difference in your monthly payment. Like that kind of blew me away when I saw that. I was like, okay, $629. So literally, if you'd have bought in October, I can see how people would be refinancing now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it costs money to refinance, but I can see
that's
they're like, hey,
rate change.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, that's going to save me $629 a month. I mean, cha-ching, that's good for the budget. Put that money in savings. But then I realized, okay, so why isn't it making a big deal now? Well, because it's been so gradual.
Yeah.
Right. So like month over month, $2,443 to $2,271. So that's $172 a month in savings. So, I mean, that's still impressive, but I think like when you really compare the big numbers, it's like, whoa, like it really will save. So I'm really intrigued as to what's going to happen as we move into the fall, because literally, like this is me saying I was wrong because I did a video saying this couldn't happen, that you literally could not have dropping prices and dropping rates at the same time, that it just didn't happen. And so now I'm like, wait a minute, this is actually happening. Like, how is this possible? So I got to thinking about that. Okay, what is different about this fall? Like, what is going on that this fall is different? And what would impact it to where we're seeing this phenomenon? Because I don't think it'll last.
I think all that, a lot of things. I mean, the economy's been kind of coming down since end of last year, I think, honestly. And the Fed didn't see it all this time. But maybe if they would have it, maybe we would have got back into inflation. It's hard to say. But because the jobs were coming down way back then.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like that whole adjustment to the job. Yeah. It's just,
and I guess there's just been a lot of up in the air kind of stuff, I think, just over the last year or so.
I wonder how many people.
Might be interesting to kind of look back over the statistical thing over the years, for election years, and see if there's kind of
I think
weird
that
things
would
like
be.
that,
That's one of the things I was going to say. In fact, I made a little chart here saying, if prices and interest rates are down, how is this possible? Isn't that cute? Like, if interest rates are down and prices are down, how can this happen? Guess what do you think that one's about?
Looks like some leaves.
So my first answer was like the fact that it's the fall.
Seasonality.
People aren't out there buying as much. I mean, it makes sense to me. I think, when your child gets all settled into school and stuff, they don't really want to.
Were they seeing that?
I don't think I shared that. I'm sorry, guys. There you go. You missed the pretty picture. Okay, but there it is. And then the next thing I think presidential election, which is what you were saying. Yeah. Like you were saying, like, and I'm really curious, like one of our friends, also a YouTuber, Preston, he said he'd been hearing a lot of people saying they were going to wait for the presidential election, that they just wanted to wait until just to see what was going to happen kind of thing. And actually, going out of order here, Samuel Lee said something about that. He said, not to get political, but investors and Wall Street will react accordingly depending on a Trump or Harris presidency.
Yeah.
He personally says he thinks Trump is better for markets. But of course, we don't talk politics during live streams. Anyway, but no, I do think that, and I think, I mean, I'm just kind of wondering how much have we heard people saying that, like how many people are waiting to see what the president election brings, right? I think it'll be interesting. Oh, I saw a live stream recently where the entire focus, maybe we'll do this soon, was about what Harris wanted to do for housing, what she was proposing, and what Trump was proposing. And I was like, that could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to start a political, crossfire, but I think it could
put up the data, what they're saying.
Yeah, I think it actually could be really interesting. And then the last thing I put was that affordability is still a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that these are really cute pictures. And I think they tell a story. Oh, and I forgot to show you guys again. There it is. So I think that tells the story there when I was kind of in my mind thinking, how can this be, right? Wendy, you're wrong. How can this be? It's actually, I think those things are very good points for us. So why do we have prices and interest rates going down? I don't think it'll last, The thing I like about it is that, in the midst of the NAR settlement all kicking in, sellers are not really changing things. And so we're not seeing huge changes. And so I like that. I think that the market dynamics of what we've got going on, where we've got, prices dropping, I think that's been really good for this acclimation into.
In our area, because there's still quite a bit of inventory and there's still enough buyers and if the rates do, I think there's enough buyers as the rates do continue to come down that I think you could see more buyers and higher prices or not drop as much. One of those two, at least. We'll
yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at our comments here.
So,
Rhonda
said howdy to them, and Rhonda said hi.
Rhonda.
Hey, Rhonda.
Love how you join us every week. And then Possum Smile says, hey, I just love how everybody's kind of coming in. But the question is, do you guys bring your drinks? I don't know, because it's like a happy hour thing for us. And then after that, we go to dinner. So we have a great time doing these. I mean, we really do. It's kind of like just the middle of the week and we're really busy and stuff. But then we get together here and we get to hang out with you guys. Yeah, it's like a break. We have a good time. And let's see. Rahul says, hello, Wendy. He did not say hello to you. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah.
He said hello to me. Not like the open house last week. Not like the open house last week where Dale got all the loves. This complete stranger walked up to Dale and said, hey, are you Dale? And Dale's like, yeah. And he's like, I saw you on YouTube. So thank you, Rahul. You boosted my self-esteem. Let's see here now. Predic says, thanks for your informative session. Anytime. You're welcome. I said, it's a lot of fun for us to just get on here and kind of go back and forth about things. Okay, so
and then
Rahul says, how much price drops we can expect in Devonshire, Forney with Highlands and Perry homes? Do we have a recent transaction of price drops of 20 to 30% if we start negotiating?
I don't think there's any recent ones.
Dale's gonna look it up. I will say this, that we were negotiating over there recently, and we found Perry to be far more motivated than, was it Trophy? We found.
Oh yeah, Trophy didn't.
We found Trophy to be kind of really rigid on their prices, and also just really took a long time to get him to communicate, and so that wasn't going really well. And then Perry jumped on the scene, and they were really willing to talk. But the thing you have to remember is what they offer is, if they offer a forward commitment, okay, that is worth so much. And so they did come down on price also. They paid some closing costs. But the big thing is they offered the forward commitment. So I think our buyer was able to get a 4% fixed rate, 30-year mortgage, 4%. So that was huge. So, but we did find that comparing Perry to Trophy, that Perry, was much more amenable to talk, much more motivated. I will say, working with Trophy, I don't know, that particular, now you have to remember, with builders, it's almost like individual towns, like they are not connected. It is very fragmented. And so like Trophy at one subdivision would be completely different than another. So our experience at Trophy Devonshire was that they really did not communicate well, and they were really rigid on prices. Like, and I remember telling her, like, I remember talking to the sales agent saying, hey, you know, our client ended up going with Perry. And I remember thinking they lost our business over $2,500. Right. That was like how close we came on the negotiation. And they were just fighting and fighting. And I was like, and so they lost our business. And so they're kind of like, and I remember her saying, we don't want to mess with appraisals. Okay. So that was the big thing. We don't want to mess with appraisals because
lots of builders say that. It's a very common.
Yeah. They know that if they come down on one, it affects the value of all the others. Right. And so they'd rather give you a forward commitment, which, guys, that has a lot of value. And then they also, they'll give you, you know, money towards your closing costs. So those are things they'd much rather do. So I would say that Perry has been fairly willing to talk, have not negotiated with Highland lately in Devonshire. Dale's looking it up right now, though.
Oh, no, I was doing something. I'm changing something here real quick.
Gosh, there he goes.
Well, there's 100. The one thing it's close. There's about 160 home active listings in Devonshire. That's quite a few.
Is that new construction or just
it's mostly new construction. There are some others, but yeah.
Okay, that blows my mind because literally when I was negotiating for our buyer, there were 70. And because I remember specifically talking to Trophy, and she was like, well, you know, you better make a decision soon because we don't have that many. Because the sales consultants will tend to kind of build a sense of scarcity to kind of make you feel pressured. And so she's like, you know, we only have, you know, a certain amount left. And I was like, I'm looking right here at the inventory, and there are 70 homes in Devonshire for sale. And I think that really kind of took her by surprise because she didn't like expect someone that actually had like the numbers in front of her. And so then she was kind of quiet, you know, it's like, okay, you know, like don't put the pressure on, you know. Okay, but what do you think?
So I started to just do 90 days, and there was only like 4 sales for Highland. But over the last 6 months, they've averaged 96.7% of the list price. There's only 3 homes, actually 5 homes that sold for less or more.
So this is Highland.
Yeah, this is Highland. That's 14 homes.
So I'm looking at the data, and like, this is what I'm seeing. 93% of sales price, 94, 87. Okay. So 3 in a row where they came down, and then 99, 100, 100, 100. And then we see them down again, 91, 93. But get this. Okay. This is just a tragedy in my mind. Somebody paid 105% of the list price. I mean, they walked in there. They didn't know that Highland's been coming down on prices, right? I mean, because some of the lowest one was 87% of list.
Also, it's interesting. It's one of the little bit bigger homes. They got it for less per square foot than a lot of the ones, though.
Probably because it is one of the bigger. So they made, and so then you have like 98, 100, 93. So I guess my point being that even though it shows, what was it, 96% or
96.7?
Yeah. Even though it shows that one at 105%. Really kind of skewed things like that. Somebody went in. What
Perry shows. Oh, and
he's looking at Perry now.
Actually, let me go back. So there are of Highland homes. There's about 11 homes active for sale.
So out of what you said, there was like 100 something.
About 160.
So Highland doesn't have like
Perry
huge exposure.
Has more.
It has 11.
Perry has quite a bit.
Wow.
Perry has 28 homes actively for sale.
Wow, guys, that's a lot for one builder.
And they've sold quite a bit more over the last 6 months. That just means they're building more too.
Yeah. And like I said, Perry was the one that was so willing to talk, and they were offering a forward commitment. That makes sense. What did we say? 20, what was it? 28 homes? Yeah. 28 inventory homes in one subdivision by one builder. And that's a lot. Okay.
Well, that's a lot. The other one, it was 70.
Well, but it was 70 total. because she was saying like that they were closing out or something like that. And I was like, no, there's actually 70.
Okay.
So that's
Perry though has not come down as much. They're at 97.6%.
that, and I just want
and there's less that were at list or more.
So you see,
actually, I guess it's about the same.
So it looks like 89%.
But still,
what was the very lowest one of list price? 89%. So the lowest they've come down is 89% of list price. Yeah. But remember, again, the fact that they'll give a forward commitment, that is worth dollars. Mm-hmm. Okay. When anytime a builder is going to give you a forward commitment, that's a really big deal because it's like a fixed, it's not a rate buy down. Yeah. It is a fixed rate, like 4% for 30 years. And that costs them a lot of money on the front end.
I would say, so he's asking price drops. I'd say, yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance for price drops with Perry, mostly for Perry, maybe Highland. Highland likes to drop at the very end, but they will keep prices up a lot. In fact, they will boost their prices sometimes.
Speaking of which, I just recorded a Highland video, so I'll be doing that builder review soon. I just literally within a half hour before we did this, I wrapped up a Highland video. I'm doing all of our videos in advance right now. And here's why, because our helper Bree is having a baby in November and she helps me with all of the recording of the videos. Mm-hmm. And so we're fast tracking. Very exciting. We're having another grandbaby. That makes number 6. Okay. Okay. Let's see what this one says. This winter may be a strange one for the housing market with the election and the recession. Yeah. I completely agree. It's already a strange one. How can you have prices and interest rates dropping at the same time? So it's already strange. I will say that in terms of new buyers coming online, we kind of had a bit of a lull here in August, less than usual. And it's really picked up towards the end of the August. We signed 5 new clients this week, and it's only Wednesday. Yeah. Right. So 5 new clients signed agreements this week. So that tells you it's really going to it's picking up, at least for us. Yeah. As we get closer to September. That's typical for us, though. I mean, we tend to be really busy in the fall. So, all right, Tim, I don't know. Maybe. Hey, Tim. Yeah, maybe. Hi, Tim. Hi, Tim. Was that a hi? And Rhonda says she's a member of the fan club here. Rhonda. I didn't even know we had a fan club. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's see what this one is about.
Nanotechnology.
Thanks for doing the live stream anytime. Well, not literally, because we can only manage once a week.
Green Oaks Preserve.
I am waiting for the Brightland Homes Green Oaks Preserve neighborhood to start building. They started building the model just now. What prices do you estimate? Okay, Dale's going to look that up right now.
I don't.
It's hard to say when they're just starting. Yeah. It's, I guess really if you wanted to get, I guess you'd have to ask them, do you have a price range if they're just starting building? But otherwise you might have to go with what houses in the area are selling for, new construction. And it depends on the quality of the home that they're going to build. Right. If I recall, Brightland doesn't tend to do forward commitments. They tend to do the rate buy down as their incentive. Okay. When time permits, and by the way, nanotechnology, Dale's looking it up, so we'll come back to you. Brightland Homes Green Oaks Preserve. He's looking it up right now. Okay. When time permits, can you do a video on Northlake? Yes. Tell me more about that. Do you want it over Northlake as a whole? Do you want me to spotlight some of the communities? What is it about Northlake? Because I've been getting that a lot. I think there's interest in Northlake and Argyle. There just seems to be a lot of interest. So I'm very interested to know what it is that you're wanting to hear about Northlake. Have you heard about Treeline Community? I can't put Dale to work on 2 different things at once.
Green Oaks Preserve, they have nothing on their website. And they haven't sold anything yet. So actually, I just wonder have to look up what Brightland sold in Arlington in general, maybe, or something.
Interesting. But I don't think they have Arlington.
Yeah.
Wow, what a find, nanotechnology. You don't see that in Arlington.
It's
there's Viridian, but otherwise you just really don't see much of it. That must be I bet it's a small community. No way are they going to have a giant sprawling one unless they've, I don't know, but that's a find. Anytime you can get new construction in one of the more inner cities, that's really kind of cool. Shorter commute. Well, so he's not really finding anything on there yet.
There's
All right. So let me see. When you're done with that, I have another assignment for you.
We'll just have to come back sometime maybe and just watch for that one.
Yeah. Pratik Patel wants to know about the tree line community. Have you heard about tree line? He's going to look that one up.
Is that one word or?
Yes. Well, he wrote it as one word. Let's see here now.
Justin?
In Justin? Is that the one you're talking about? Treeline is a new home community.
It's a Hillwood. Hillwood means
Hillwood,
it's going to be.
Yeah.
Hillwood does excellent communities.
Yeah. Hillwood's pretty nice. Yeah. And they just know what they're doing. It's very.
It looks a lot like Harvest.
Ooh, it does. You guys should be looking. Sorry, I'm not looking up this website.
Also, yeah.
But yeah, if it ends up like Harvest.
Okay, it says it's going to have American Legend Homes, Baser, David Weekley, D.R. Horton, Highland, History Maker, Pulte, and TriPoint. So mostly mid-range homes. I'd say your high-end one is American Legend there, and Baser. Sometimes they're
so the fact that you've got D.R. Horton and History Maker, those are your lower ends, and then you've got like American Legend, so you've got a little bit of higher ends.
They're also doing 40 and 45. Well, 40-foot rear entry and 45 front entry and 50 rear front entry. So it's going to be
so you got high
smaller
density.
lots.
You're going to have smaller lots and high density. But listen, something I was going to say is that that's the kind of community that I tell people if they're in a low price range and if you've got to buy a D.R. Horton for whatever reason, like they're making a forward commitment or whatever, go in a community like that. Don't buy in the community if you can help it where it's just all D.R. Horton. Okay.
Just came out of 2 D.R. Horton communities this week though, and they actually had some nice homes. So,
but I like the idea of being able to be around nicer builders, right? I always say if you can't buy greatness, buy near greatness.
It's going to be about just under 3,000 homes. So it's a pretty good size community.
So nice find. Yeah, tree line's looking good.
Well, it just means Justin's been growing like crazy.
Ooh, that's true. Jay, thoughts on Bloomfield and Denton coming down on home prices? Do you foresee prices settling down 20 to 30% in Denton County? I don't know if we're going to see 20 to 30% anywhere. That would be pretty impressive if we did. Now, personally, I kind of like Bloomfield. We've sold some in the South Fort Worth area, in Crowley. I believe it was Hunter's Ridge. And wow, the sales consultant there was amazing. Like her name was Donna, and I literally have never worked with a sales consultant that good.
Country Lakes, Green Meadows.
So I just in general, she told me that Bloomfield used to do the T-ply sheathing, but they've started putting like a higher quality foam backing to it. So it's not like your structural sheathing, but it's a step above. For the fact that you can get Bloomfield and D.R. Horton at the same prices, I think Bloomfield is a better option. I think it's better built. It's got a little bit better on the sheathing. Dale's looking up the numbers right now.
Bloomfield's got 8 homes active right now, and they've sold about 8.
Okay.
Let's see.
So they've sold 8 and they have 8 for sale. So I wouldn't call them like super exposed, right? I mean, it's still inventory, but it's not like Perry, Devonshire where they've got like 30,
Let's see. Have they been coming down much?
Okay.
They're about 96.6. Nope. None of them have sold for their.
Ooh, look at that.
So as it's been more recent, June and July, it's been 96. Well, in July it was 99.4, but yeah. So
I don't know if you heard that, but not one of them.
Not as much as you're thinking.
Not 20 to 30%.
But yeah.
But not a one of them have sold for list price. So don't go there and pay list price.
Okay. Also that was Country Lakes. So.
Oh, okay.
And
so that
then
was
the other one's Green Meadows. Let's see.
All right. While you're looking that up, I'm going to move on to this one. Okay. Thanks, Dale and Wendy. Detailed information. You are welcome. Data is what
Green
we
Meadows
do.
doesn't
We
have
love
as
it.
much stuff going on.
You still looking? Okay.
And Bloomfield is not listed in here.
Oh, okay. So maybe they're.
I know they do. Well, let's go back.
Yeah, because you've shown quite a few homes up in Denton. Yeah.
Oh, I listed it wrong. It's Glenwood Meadows.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, he's looking. I'm going to move on to this one in Northlake. some communities like Pecan Square. Oh my goodness. I just think Pecan Square is so cool. I love it on so many levels. I like that they have, again, D.R. Horton mixed in with greatness. I love that feature. They've got some really nice builders there. And then they've got, some lower end builders. And so like, if you got to be affordable, if you got to go with an affordable product, mix it in where you're surrounded by greatness. And so I love that option that Pecan Square offers. They have, and it's just it's kind of got a stately entrance to it. And then it's got the whole little town square thing going on. You want me to go back to the
Bloomfield, Glenwood Meadows, similar numbers. They're 8 and 8, and they're at 97.5% of list price.
And they didn't have any huge drops. It's pretty uniform. Like the lowest was like 95% of list price. So not really coming down a whole lot on that one.
Maybe just their typical.
So I really like Pecan Square a lot. I'm trying to think the last time we looked at it, whether or not we were seeing a whole lot of exposure there. But I'm a real fan of it. It's just the amenities are so neat. That centralized area. When we were showing there and we went inside the center and there were all these moms with preschoolers just kind of hanging out. And it just reminded you of like that community feeling of like, 100 years ago when everybody met at the watering hole to wash laundry together, right? That's what it reminded me of. You just had all these moms with their babies and their preschoolers just hanging out. And there was just so much community feel. So Dale's looking it up right now. Pecan Square.
What are we looking up for Pecan Square?
Yeah, see if there's what kind of price drops we're seeing there. Because this is, I think earlier he said, well, he just said, can you do a video on Northlake? Yes. Yeah, I like Pecan Square a lot. Okay, let's see here now. Monifa 82. What is the trend in Dallas? Are builders paying all closing costs like other states, or are they not there yet?
Not all closing costs,
but they are there. They're paying. They're paying a lot. There's always some incentive, that they're going to offer. And again, they would much rather pay closing costs than to come down on price if they can help it, because paying closing costs isn't supposed to affect appraisals. In their mind, it is actually supposed to. It's supposed to, like when you see, like when you look at an appraisal, there's supposed to be an adjustment based on how much a seller helps with closing costs. But for the most part, you don't see it. So they would much rather, incentivize through things like exactly what you're saying, which is closing costs. Okay.
So mostly in Pecan Square right now, you have mostly for sales, Coventry, David Weekley, and Highland. But what's sold recently, there's several Ashton Woods homes that have recently sold.
He's looking
and so they must be. In fact, I think we went out and looked, and they were pretty much done. Ashton Woods. They're building over in Harvest in the Retreat area.
Yeah, I feel like. Go ahead.
Ashton Woods sold.
They've come down some.
A little bit.
To 93%. One of them was at 93, but one of them was 103%. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it Ashton Woods that was so overpriced? We had a buyer coming into town interested in an Ashton Woods there in Northlake. And it was, the market analysis, I was like, this is completely overpriced. So I was like, and they still looked at it and stuff, but it was just so overpriced. So in a situation like that, sometimes you look at them coming down in price and you're like, well, no wonder. You're kind of tricking everyone because it's not really priced correctly to begin with.
Coventry, they're at 95% of list price. Coventry. They had some down as 87% and 90s.
All right, Rahul says Van Alstyne or Forney. Which one do you prefer based on growth and schooling? Van Alstyne has the schools.
That's their schools.
Way better than Forney's.
Growing a lot more in Forney right now, though.
Forney is going to be, and also like Van Alstyne, want a big yard, want an acreage option. Okay. Forney, knowing that you're closer to Dallas, but you're going to get the small lots, right? And Forney has a lot of affordable option choices. So based on growth and schooling, definitely schools is Van Alstyne. Growth, it depends on if you're talking about immediate growth or the potential for future growth, because Forney has the immediate growth and a lot of people are not happy about it. because they're like saying, hey, infrastructure is not catching up here.
Yep.
And there's just too much. And I, just met with a buyer maybe yesterday who said, I don't even consider Forney because they won't catch up with their infrastructure. The traffic's terrible and they're not spending the money on the roads. Yeah. Okay. So this one is very deep and very meaningful. You take this
I like
one.
pancakes. Yum.
Yeah.
What kind of syrup?
Yeah, exactly. I am a Mrs. Butterworth's light.
Yeah.
And
Not
he's
even real syrup.
And he's a Mrs. Butterworth's regular.
Actually,
and we
actually like the really good real maple syrup too. Though.
Yeah. But it like literally, if the only thing we have in the house is Mrs. Butterworth's light, he's like mutinies. Like he won't eat pancakes. And I'm just like, this tastes so much better.
Actually, best pancakes in the world is Sears Diner in San Francisco.
What?
Union Square.
Really?
Yes.
That's wild. So Dale used to be in IT sales pre-2019, and he traveled all the time. So and then brought him into real estate, in the 2018, 2019.
Well, we were already in it.
I've been in it since 2007, and the rentals and yeah. So I've been heavily into it since then, and then he joined us. So anyway, that is very interesting. We should see if we can find a copycat recipe. But we'll have to make sure we have the right kind of syrup. Okay. Brightland recently said their palette is the Premier and Premier side load floor plans, if that helps. Determine what quality or price they would start at. There just really wasn't that much on the website.
Yeah, it would require some phone calls and stuff, see what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. How do you like Grand Homes? They are building in the Rockwall, Rockwall areas, and we have one under contract right now there. And the same home built in Frisco areas, you can get, 100 to 150,000 cheaper in Rowlett.
Yeah.
No,
so, they do a really quality home, but they are pretty pricey. They don't like to come down on their prices. They do their upgrades are kind of a la carte. Basically, you're going to have to get a bunch of different things to make it a nicer home. Yeah. But they are a real strong quality. But
nickel and dime you
really nice looking homes. But
nickel and dime you on the new builds. I remember we were negotiating it and like I don't know why this just stuck with me, but the laundry room didn't even come with cabinetry. It was just the hookups and that was it. And I was like, this is a luxury home. And they're like, yeah, you have to pay extra for the cabinetry. I'm like, this is like an $800,000 home and you don't put cabinets in the laundry room. So like if you do a new build, prepare to be nickel and dimed to death. I mean, I'm telling you, you need to account for like a big part of that price being upgrades. Yeah. Because they don't come, if you're doing a new build, man, it doesn't come with much. Now we have had it to where they've negotiated with us very aggressively on a new build, actually in Rockwall. It was kind of funny because on that particular one, I had put my phone down for dinner and the sales consultant was like negotiating basically with herself. She just kept texting me reductions over and over again. And so like she had said, we can come down this and that on the price. We can come down this and that on the lot premium. We can come down this. And I just picked it up and there were like all of these. And I was like, she didn't even wait for me to respond. Like she was giving away the farm.
Yeah.
And so that was back, they were, another thing that we did that was very effective with Rockwall was we pitted the two communities against each other because our buyer was like, either one of these communities, I think they would work. And so what we did was we talked to the sales consultants at both of those. And we were like, which of these sales consultants is more motivated? Which one's more likely to go to bat with management? And that worked really well to actually take the same builder and you would think you wouldn't be able to, get influence, but you can, depending on how motivated the sales consultant is. So we were able to get them more prices down just from that. That was like why she was texting me. This particular sales consultant really wanted the sale. So that was kind of an interesting strategy that we used there. Now, how would you describe the build process that we've had with them? Because we are in the middle of a new build and we've done a few more.
Well, that was part of that. Rockwall seems to be two things from what I'm understanding with Rockwall is they're a bit slow, but their inspectors, their city inspectors are very picky. So that causes the build process to go slow. And it took them. They had a huge delay in permits, so that took them a long time to get started.
Okay. So that wasn't really Grant's
so far.
fault.
It's mostly it's been
Okay. I just knew that the process had gone really slow. but they can't help that if it's the city. So
I've kind of been hearing that as I talked to
So know that like if you do a new build in like the Rockwall area, that the city goes slow on getting it started. And so it has taken longer than our buyer
if the community's already going, it won't be as
good point.
This one was
a good point.
This was new for grand homes there.
Yeah. And that's a strategy, by the way, guys. If you can get in on the front end when it all looks like a field, if you can have reasonable expectations and verification of what it's going to eventually look like, you can get a good deal because they want to validate the area, right? So the first few people that come in, they give it validation like, oh, this is really more than a field. And so then you can tend to be they're going to give out a little bit more. And that was the situation we had with that particular one. So grand homes, nickel and dime you to death. Okay, if you do a new build, just plan on having a huge budget, for the upgrades.
They are really nice looking homes.
They get, they have this architectural style that's really hard to get anywhere else, like the whole castle thing. It's hard to find that. All right, let's see here now. What is better for future price, master plan versus small community? Okay, so let's just say it's a small community that has no PID, no mud, and an outstanding school district, and every house backs to green space. Okay, so that may be a small community, which is Northlake, right? Cahavenanian? Or no, not Northlake. North Creek.
That one,
that one, it's sold out like that. North Creek, Cahavenanian, because it backed to a lot of green space, was in excellent schools, and like to be in that school system without a pit or a mud was amazing. And so you got a lot of buyers in there. They sold out fast, and man, that sales consultant couldn't. She was tough.
Sounds like it's more about location.
I think so. She did not negotiate with me. I was like trying not to be offended. She was like, we don't have to. And I was asking her about past sales to try to establish value. And she's like, I'm not going to tell you. I was like, okay, because she was so cocky because, she had a good thing going. So that was a neat little community. So it just all depends. And then also like there's one in Salina that Grand Homes has. That's the same thing. It backs to a lot of green space. What's that? Oh, goodness. The name escapes me. So no amenities there, but it's surrounded by green space and it's kind of like really in a quiet area. So that is a tough one. I would say more of our buyers ask for master plan than they do of the small community. I would say overall, they probably like the idea better. But I think there's a case to be made of, a nice little neighborhood that is surrounded by green space, maybe has kind of an exclusive feel.
Yeah. I mean, I guess some cases I could see where the small community, maybe if the HOA didn't keep it up well and didn't build up around it that nice, it may not keep value as well as in a master plan, as long as everything was. And I do think sometimes the HOA can have a lot to do with that, and depends on how well they do as they go along. So
very true.
So,
all right, let's see this. Is it best to make home improvements before selling your home, such as flooring, new fence, or selling as is? I can tell you right here, I have an opinion on this. I have an opinion.
Well, then tell us.
Okay, I have an opinion. The houses that are in between are the hardest to sell. Okay, so if you have a completely wrecked as is that you're okay selling to an investor, don't fix it up. Okay, but if it's just dated and you're still wanting to kind of price at market value,
dated's going to sit for a while.
Dated sits for a while.
At least right now it does.
Yeah. I mean, like when we help buyers in Plano, if there's one that is fixed up, because Plano is an older suburb, if there's one that's fixed up, it goes really fast because most of them are dated. A lot of them have foundation problems too. That's another story.
That's the 70s ones more. Well,
the 70s ones, yeah. But I would say it depends on how bad it is. Like but I would say always, like you think about like flooring, paint, flooring, kitchen, and bathrooms if you're going to do. So for example, if the fence isn't terrible, that's not something you're going to get your money out of. Versus kitchen or bathrooms. Paint. The two main ones will be
master bath and kitchen. Those are the two.
Yeah. And paint and flooring. Nothing turns you off faster than stained carpet, or like crayon on the walls.
Unless you're willing to give a flooring
allowance. Yeah. But like flooring or like when you walk into a house and there's a different paint color in every room. Okay. Like you need what I call
crayon on that.
Yeah. Or crayons or Sharpie markers. Like you need to neutralize it, put in a neutral paint color. So that's one thing. And then like if you're a do-it-yourselfer, it's probably the cheapest thing you can do for the maximum impact is to paint. Like if you don't mind painting yourself. So I guess if that answers your question, I would say if it's just dated, but it's still in reasonably good shape. So for example, are you targeting investors or owner occupants? Because if you're targeting owner occupants, meaning it's not that bad. If you're targeting owner occupants, then I would say it's better to put in some repairs, just some basic improvements. But I wouldn't say fence necessarily, unless it's like really falling down. But I would say more like focus on the inside.
It could be though, if you have other active listings and theirs all look nice. Kind of stands out from the others because it's not as new, maybe.
Yeah, so, that's true. That's true.
But still, the best ones are.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we had a listing appointment once where the seller had literally made every upgrade we recommend against, and he's like, "I did this and I did this," and we're like, "Okay, we're just listening because we're like, this is like every one of these are the worst ones you can possibly do." So think of the big four, right? And go with that. Okay. I'm looking for new construction home, but wondering if it's possible to negotiate with realtor on sharing commission percentages. For example, 2% for realtor and 1% kickback to me. Does this happen?
Maybe.
You know, considering the fact that now you have to commit to amount up front. And let's just say you as the buyer may have to pay the buyer's agent. How are you going to negotiate a kickback? You know, like,
he is.
For example, 2% for the real. No. What I'm saying is if the buyer has to pay, because that's assuming that the seller's paying. When you talk about a kickback, you're assuming am I reading that right? Like he's assuming the seller's going to pay. We can't really do that anymore. In the representation agreement, you can't assume that the seller's going to pay. You know, now are they in Dallas? Yes. So back in the day, we've done those maybe like once or twice.
Yeah, if it's new construction, you probably they are going to pay, but so far they are.
So far they are. Is it possible in today's climate post-NAR? Would be interesting to see. It's not something that we would do personally.
Depends on how much, if they don't, I guess it really depends on how hungry that realtor is, that real estate agent is. Yeah.
I think that's true. I think that's probably a good point. All right. How bad is thermoply really? Wow. I mean, that's a loaded question because so much opinion goes into that, whether or not you should use structural or non-structural sheathing. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would say a lot of it too depends on there's different levels of thermoply. Yeah. There's really, really cheap and then there's slightly better. And also it depends on how is it put in? Do they use corner bracing? Right? Or is it just slapped on?
There's just a lot of different things that go along with this. So
it's more vulnerable to sloppy work. Okay. Because you can go in there and you can see like big holes around the pipes, right? Because it's so thin. Versus if it's got corner bracing and then they're sealed really well and very, finely tuned, that's different. Sometimes if that's the only way that you can buy a house, like if you're in a budget and you just want to get your foot in the door, like say, for example, if you've got to go with DR Horton in Pecan Square, right? And we know that that's like a fundamentally great place to buy a lower end house. I would just say like, maybe don't plan on that being your forever home. It's probably not going to be super energy efficient. You may have holes in the T-ply, especially if it's an inventory home and you didn't see it being built. So I would say that it's definitely a thinner product. Always ask if you're looking at it, ask them, do they use corner bracing or is it just kind of slapped up there? They use taping? So it's not great. I'm personally more of a fan. I like the zip system a lot. I tend to think that that's a better way to go. So I don't know. All right. I don't know if I'm going to put that one up there. It doesn't seem like a very nice comment.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't either. Okay. I guess we can put it on there. You guys tell me what they're talking about.
So
we're just going to
talk about sports. If it's soccer,
we're going to talk about sports.
Center defender to play, maybe to watch. Number 10 player.
Yeah. Or my favorite job position is a really good admin. If I can get me a really good administrative assistant, That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Someone that can think with
A
me
go-getter.
and get it done. A go-getter. Yeah. So I would say somebody like that.
All right.
Guys, I think that is it. One more. Okay. Let's see here now. What are your thoughts on new construction inventory homes getting massive price slashes? I've seen 1 million plus new construction inventory homes get $250,000 price reductions. Well, so have we. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
We've seen that as well. We just were working on one over the weekend where comps listed at a solid 950. Very clear cut, very clear comps, and immediately sales consultant was like, "We'll do 850." Or I think it was listed. They had done a huge price reduction, and then they were like, "We'll come below this." So we're still working them down even lower, but I've seen them too. So definitely there are the inventory homes getting price slashes, and a lot depends on location. So if you're $1 million home surrounded by $2 million homes, that's a little different than if you're $1 million home with super cheap homes, right? In a lower median sales price, only, where people aren't going to be looking at $1 million homes. That's where you can really find some motivation. Okay. I think he's talking about selling realtor or buy realtor. Could be. If he's asking me, do I like to help sellers or buyers? Based on my channel and everything, I tend to like
Probably
working with buyers.
Buyer, but
yeah, I just I like the.
It's nice though when you get to do more sales. But this year hasn't been a great one for doing sellers. So
yeah, it really hasn't been a great one for sellers. So I think I tend to kind of go towards the buyer's realtor, and I tend to really like that negotiating element of it, getting them in the very strategic part. And I think too, like there's kind of like a protection part of me, a protective part of me. I was meeting with a buyer today who said I was an educator. And I was like, yes, I am. That is exactly what I do, because I want people to be educated on the things that can go wrong. Right. And so I tend to kind of bring that into the buying sphere a lot about like teaching. Okay. What is a realistic cost to build in terms of cost per square foot for the southern corridor? Southwest Oak Cliff, just north of the Dallas Executive Airport.
To build?
So we would need to see like that area. And that's going to be a tough one because it's probably landlocked. And you're probably just talking about an individual lot in the middle of Older.
Well, that's like around the Hampton 67 area.
Right.
Loop 12 area.
It's going to be micro local, Charles. We'd have to look it up.
So I guess you're probably, it sounds like you're talking about then a custom builder as well. You're probably buying a lot on your own, and then
he just said that's correct. That's correct. So I would say that it's going to be,
that's going to take some
it's going
research.
To be it's going to be micro local, and then you have to decide, is this an area where it makes sense? Because if you're talking about one little lot in the middle of older homes, or maybe it's not being rebuilt, you have to think about whether or not that's a great place to build as well. Now if it's like gentrification or everything is being improved, that's a different story. He's saying construction costs all over the place. I definitely hear that.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on Coventry Homes in Cambridge Crossing in Salina? You've shown some there, I believe.
Yeah, Coventry does a good job. They're good homes. I'm not sure what they're going for right now in Cambridge Crossing. Cambridge Crossing is a very nice neighborhood, and
so stately. I love the entrance.
It's been their prices have been up there just because there's been a lot of demand for getting in. One of those kind of high demand neighborhoods. And
don't they build on 40-foot lot lines? And plenty of times also, like they're like them in Highlands. Like I know Highland is also willing. And so like if you want a nice house and you don't mind a really small yard, like Highland, and I think Coventry is one of those that you can do. He's looking it up a little bit. All right, correct. Okay. KK, follow up. Doesn't majorly discounted inventory homes really screw regular new construction buyer? If I'm buying new construction, I'm not getting the $250K price reductions the inventory harms are. That is now, I'm trying to figure out, are you talking about like a custom, like a new build, not custom, but a new build versus an inventory? There's a lot of truth to that. If you can buy a inventory home in an area that have mostly been custom new builds, that's really great. You've got a lot of like built-in equity there. And that's why inventory homes, of course, you don't get to pick everything out. But that is why one of the reasons that there's a lot to be excited there, because you do get more equity. But then it kind of depends on how the new build was updated as well, right? So I would say to a degree you're correct there. That now, but okay, you have to take this into consideration. Okay, and here it is. If it's a new build, you are contracting at today's prices for tomorrow's product. Okay, so you're not you're not competing with the inventory home of today. By the time you own it, you're going to be looking at the inventory home of 10 months from then.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have what's called equitable title. Okay, and so even though it does mess with it, remember it's not at the same time frame. Okay, so by the time you close, you're looking at inventory homes that have potentially gone up in value over an 8 to 10 month period. So if that makes sense. I love tradition homes, but they're a bit pricey. Do you see them coming down on their prices in Prosper, Salina area due to changing market? My wife and I make 6 figures, but homes seem unaffordable. I like tradition homes. I did a video, a builder review on them, and I was just overall just very impressed with everything I saw. Like I was not seeing any complaints on like the Better Business Bureau. And granted, they're very hyper local. I mean, they are just really micro local. They're a small company. And I think kind of what I brought up in the video was like they don't have a huge backdrop of reputation, but the quality seems very high.
Let's see, in Salina, I guess it would have to see. At the time, I haven't seen a ton of inventory homes with tradition. So yeah, if they don't do that, then you may not be coming down as much. But that, as they get more, then definitely there would probably this time of the year you would see some price drops on their inventory. You will not see price drops on their build, built from the ground up. So
yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is the last comment.
And on that commentary, just real quick, but yeah, I don't show any sales to compare in the last 6 months, but they have anywhere from upper 2,000 to 4,000 square foot, and they're running 615 to 877,000 right now. These are inventory homes, I guess. So that's 8 of them. I mean, they're nice homes. But,
What kind of lot size are they? Oh, they're 40s.
Yeah,
they're 40
some
foot
of them.
lot
Well,
lines,
the smaller ones are 40s, and the others are 50s.
So that's an example of like Coventry and Highland both do that, where if you want really, really nice quality and you don't care that it's on a small lot, you can get that with them. So they'll build on a lot of 40s. And so again, you want a really nice house and you don't care that it's on a teeny tiny yard, you can do that like with Coventry and with Highland. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks,
you too, Rhonda.
Good night.
And Charles says, stumbled upon your page. Thanks for providing all this knowledge. Anytime, come back next week. We're happy to answer questions and give you info and kind of see which builders are motivated. Okay, one more comment. I have signed a contract with Shattuck in Frisco for December closing. What if the market price falls before closing with respect to builder and appraisal? If it falls, you have to make up the shortage.
It's possible, but the likelihood that it'll fall so much at that point that the appraisal won't fit, especially if you're using the builder lender, it's highly doubtful.
Yeah, that's the
possible.
Thing. It's pretty much a miracle how when you use that builder lender, the appraisals always come in okay. Like every time, they're nuts. It's not supposed to be. It's
I doubt
you're
just going to see prices drop that much.
Yeah. But yeah, so
let's see
next one more. Okay, thank you very much for your insights. You are welcome.
You're very welcome.
Like I said, this is our funnest thing that we do in the middle of the week. All right, well, everybody, we will see you next week. Bring your questions, and we will help out as much as we can.
There you go.
All right, we're off to dinner. Night, everybody.